So, good evening, dear friends. So, we will go with the welcome address. So, Mohan sir, are you there, sir?
Yeah,
Mohan,
Nishan, yes. Yeah,
yes,
I can hear you.
yes, sir. Okay. So, I will give you a brief introduction. After that, I will hand over the session to you, sir. So, good evening, dear participants. On behalf of Energy Management Institute of Energy Management Center, Kerala, a warm welcome to this program. So EMC, as many of you know, under the Department of Power, Government of Kerala is the state designated agency for Bureau of Energy Efficiency, Government of India. Government of India have engaged in the promotion of energy efficiency and having the mandate to enforce the provisions of Energy Conservation Act 2001 in Kerala state. EMC was established in 1996 as an autonomous body. You may agree that new technological trends in energy efficiency and sustainable development are being introduced in the transport sector, through which drastic reduction in the energy consumption profile are attained, resulting in the achievement of remarkable energy savings and a green environment. Transport sector being the largest energy consumer for any nation, mobility is one of the key requirements for our day-to-day life. As far as India is concerned, we import about 85% of the crude oil requirement from other countries. So the resulting pollution from these vehicles on burning of fuel fossil is one of the main cause of global warming and increases in the fuel prices day by day. Government of India has set up an ambitious target for switching to 100% EVs by 2030. This courageous act has made the Indian transportation industry compete with the developed countries. National e-mobility program aims to provide an impetus to the entire e-mobility ecosystem that includes the electric vehicle manufacturers, charging infrastructure development companies, fleet operators, and service providers. EV technology have rendered a vast development in the automotive sector as it is environment friendly and energy efficient. One of the important challenges in e-mobility is the choice of an energy efficient, reliable, and environment friendly energy storage unit and the charging infrastructure. So today's speaker is Engineer N. Mohan. He is a professional with experience of more than 14 years in the field of policy planning, conceptualization, and implementation of energy efficiency programs. He presently leads the Electric Vehicle Charging Infrastructure (EVCA) department at the Energy Efficiency Services Limited (ESL). It is a central government organization which is coming under the Ministry of Power. He has played a pivotal role in incorporating and developing a digital ecosystem for the operational efficiency and performance improvements in the charging infrastructure. Under his leadership, ESL has deployed more than 80 public charging stations and has plans to deploy more than 10,000 PCS by the end of 2025. He is a mechanical engineer with master's degree in business administration in marketing and international business. N. Mohan is a certified energy auditor as notified by the Bureau of Energy Efficiency, Ministry of Power. That's all about the introduction of today's esteemed speaker. Now, the digital platform for hosting the webinar is provided by Indian Institute of Information Technology and Management, Kerala. Considering the COVID-19 scenario, EMC is organizing a series of webinars on various topics. This kind was started on 5th June. A webinar calendar has been prepared by EMC titled Energy Efficiency in All Walks of Life from Lamps to Boilers. The same is published in our website www.keralaenergy.gov.in. If you have any doubts during the webinar, you need not wait till the end and make use of the public chat box in the platform. Some of your doubts may not be cleared at that time itself, but EMC people will compile the questions and get the answers and prepare a FAQ booklet. The booklet will be shared to all participants via email. I wish you all a very fruitful and interesting session. Thank you. So all participants, I once again welcome to this platform. EMC has been doing a series of programs every year we have been taking direct contact classes and contact seminars. So post-COVID, we are unable to do that due to the responsibility on social distancing and this disease spreading. So we switched to this webinar mode. So programs have already started. So today we have started the first of the EV series, the energy efficiency in electric vehicles. So I request all of you to mute your mic and camera so that the bandwidth will be good. So over to you, Mohan sir.
Yeah, thank you, Anish. Good afternoon, everyone. Am I audible, Anish?
Yes, sir. Very much audible, sir.
Okay, so thank you, Anish. Good afternoon, everyone. So first, let me at least compliment the Energy Management Center Kerala for organizing this webinar. So I understand like this is a crucial time where the physical conference are avoided. I think the webinar has taken a precedence now in doing a lot of stakeholder consultation. I would like to thank Bureau of Energy Efficiency, Energy Management Center for involving and inviting ESL for doing this presentation on public charging infrastructure projects. So good afternoon, everyone. So basically, I will try to keep my presentation brief. So where we will try to explain about the deployment plans of ESL in building the public charging infrastructure. So what is the need? So what are the national level policies? What kind of state level interventions could be done by the city administrations? And how this upscaling could happen in the state and the national level to reach the e-mobility targets of 30% EV sales by 2030. So if we see like globally also, the most of the e-mobility initiatives are driven by the strong policy push, the reason towards the climate change and the cost economics. The other major factor being the decreasing cost of the lithium ion batteries. If I tell you about the global scenario of the public charging infrastructure, so over 7.3 million chargers are available worldwide, out of which 6.5 million predominantly pertains to private slow chargers, and around 0.5 million pertains to publicly accessible slow chargers, and around 0.2 million pertains to publicly accessible fast chargers. So even if you see the growth trend of the electric cars, so annually I think it has increased by over 60% from 2014 till 2019. As on 2019, these numbers stands close to 7.2 million. So if you can see, you can compare like how this the production of electric vehicles and the public charging infrastructures are going hand in hand, and this illustrates that there is a lot of acceptance for electric vehicles globally. As you see, the cost economics of operating electric vehicles are much beneficial as compared to the normal ICE vehicles. So some of the key policy push for electric vehicles remains that there is a strong incentive demand being put by the government for reducing the cost of ownership. The second thing is there is a strong supply framework being arranged to increase the availability of the electric vehicle models. And also some of the countries globally, they have taken a precedent where they said like where they have mandated a percentage of vehicles manufactured by the OEMs to be electric vehicles. So apart from these two incentive and increasing the availability of the electric vehicle model, the main concern remains like there has to be an adequate charging infrastructure. Presently, if you see the IC vehicle market, the people don't have any hesitation in buying the normal petrol, diesel or CNG vehicles. The reason being adequate number of fuel stations are available at every say 2 kilometers or 5 kilometer radius. So there is no range anxiety concern for when it comes to the ICE vehicles. But the same thing is not applicable for the electric vehicles because there is not adequate infrastructure in place. So whenever any consumer wants to go with electric vehicles, they will at least think twice before opting for electric vehicle. The only reason being they are more anxious about the charging infrastructure and how to elevate those range anxiety concerns. So in India also, like the government departments are leading the charging infrastructure initiatives, and they would act as market creator initially. And the government of India, they're also providing the financial incentives for installation of these charging stations. The globally also, the most of the public charging infrastructure are being developed by the government departments under the government financial incentive schemes. So with this, I will commence the detailed presentation. So in India, like the NITI Aayog is the coordinating entity for electric vehicles initiatives in India. So in e-mobility, like we have different ministries involved in promotion of electric vehicles. NITI Aayog is the coordination entity for electric vehicles initiatives among various government departments. So we have the Ministry of Power, which takes up the role of providing the guidelines for EV charging infrastructures. So we have the Central SCD Authority, which specifically takes up the technical aspects and safety aspects related to the charging infrastructure. We have Bureau of Energy Efficiency, which has been assigned as a nodal agency for charging infrastructure in India. So we have Department of Science and Technology, which is working towards building and setting up the Indian standards and protocols for EV chargers. If you come to the other ministries, we have Department of Heavy Industries, which is responsible for managing the FAME scheme. So in 2020, we have this National Electric Mobility Mission Plan. So the Department of Heavy Industries was responsible for releasing this Bharat charging standards for AC001 and DC001, and also they are the entity responsible for the implementation of FAME scheme in India. So under heavy industries, we have the labs also, like we have this ARI labs, which are responsible for testing of the electric vehicles and EV chargers. Then we have this Ministry of Road Transport departments, which look after the administration of the Motor Vehicle Act, the taxation and insurance requirement, the motor vehicle registration, and policy decisions. If you see the other ministries involved is the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, where they are trying to complement the efforts of other ministries by increasing the offtake of electric vehicles by the consumers. So they're also defining the policy related to putting up separate standards for electric vehicles. So they're also like trying to build a percentage of electric power sockets has to be there in the newly constructed buildings, and also it is being applied in the building bylaws as well. So the state government role being like now the Bureau of Energy Efficiency Central Nodal Agency, which is responsible for leading these charging infrastructure deployment initiatives. At the state level, there are state nodal agencies which will be complementing the efforts of Bureau of Energy Efficiency, and they will at least advise the charge point operators to build the charging infrastructure at the required scale. If we see the major EV ecosystem challenges, so presently, like the electric vehicles have an upfront cost is slightly higher compared to normal ICE cars. So also the other concern is like the availability of the models. So electric vehicles, we have only limited choice as compared to the other ICE segments. And third being the lack of charging infrastructure. If you see these ecosystem challenges primarily, there is a premium which consumer has to pay when he wants to acquire electric vehicles. So in order to address that concern, the government has come out with a FAME2 scheme where a demand incentive is provided to the OEMs. So at least to reduce the upfront purchase cost by the consumers. These demand incentives are being passed on to the OEMs, so they can pass through that benefit to the end customers. So the limited vehicle model, how it is like, what is the implications this will have in the to the consumers. So here, if you see the IC cars, which are like the fossil fuel vehicles, like the petrol, diesel, or CNG vehicles, here the consumers have a choice where the vehicle based on their budget available, starting from say few lakhs from 3.5 lakhs to up to say 10-15 lakhs. So at least they have a choice where they can choose the appropriate vehicle based on the budget requirement. Presently in the electric vehicles, we have a very limited models, which is available in the market. And also, like if you compare the sedan vehicles of electric vehicle and the IC vehicle, there's a premium of almost like 30% which they need to pay. The reason being that presently the cost of electric vehicles are higher compared to the IC vehicles. So even the OEMs are trying to address these issues by launching more number of EV models in the market with considering the policy directives from the government of India. So I think once we have more number of electric vehicles on road, this would give a kind of confidence to the customers while choosing the electric vehicle model within their budget. The third and foremost thing, the lack of charging infrastructure. So although like we realize there is a need to build a charging infrastructure, until unless there is a financial viability of building these stations, it is very difficult to get the private investment in the public charging infrastructure projects. Presently, these are like capital intensive investment. The upfront cost involved in building or developing these charging stations is very high. Due to low density of electric vehicles on road, we also foresee the utilization from these charging stations will be very, very less, where the payback period would be much, much longer as compared to other investment projects. The foremost important thing being the availability of the land. Presently, like whenever the public stations have to build up, we need to have a provision of the land where these stations could be built and operated. And the most of the public parking locations or sites are owned by the government entities, and getting those access to those lands and building those stations is one of the major concern, which is being addressed now to some extent under the policy framework. When I say the infrastructure cost, it includes like the related EV supply equipment cost. It includes the meter connection cost. It includes other accessories which are required for operating these charging stations. So this is the initiative by the national government. So this is called as FAME scheme, that is Fast Adoption and Manufacturing of Hybrid and Electric Vehicles. The FAME scheme was launched in 2015, the FAME 1, which lasted up till 2019 April. So initially the budget outlay was around 795 crores, which was added by additional 100 crores, which extended up till April 2019. And post 2019, we have this FAME 2 scheme in place, which is valid for next 3 years, starting from April 2019 till April 2022. If you see the budget outspan of FAME 1 and FAME 2, FAME 1, FAME 2, the initial budget was around 895 crores. Now in the current FAME 2 scheme, the budget has increased to 10,000 crores. The objective of pushing the FAME scheme in India is India would like to reduce the dependency on the oil imports, and they would like to achieve 30% sale of electric vehicles by 2030. The focus of FAME scheme remains on technology development, demand creations, running the pilot projects and charging infrastructure. On the right hand table, which you can see here, so this is a split of 10,000 crore, which is sanctioned under the FAME 2 scheme. Here you can see like the major portion is being given to the demand incentives. So around 8596 crores are being earmarked for the demand incentives, where each category of the vehicles like 2-wheelers, 3-wheelers, 4-wheelers, and even the 4-wheelers hybrid, there is an budget outlay. And also there is a target numbers, like for 2-wheelers, it is like up to 1 million 2-wheelers, there is an incentive which would be given, and the earmark budget is around 2,000 crores. Likewise, for 3-wheelers, it is around 0.5 million, where the budget earmark is on 2,500 crores. Likewise, the 4-wheelers, it's around 35,000 vehicles, and the budget is around 525 crores. Here, the demand incentive is being decided based on the battery capacity of the vehicle. For electric buses, around rupees 20,000 rupees per kilowatt hour is part as a demand incentives. These demand incentives will be directly passed on to the OEM. So while acquiring these electric buses, that much discount would happen to the end customer who is purchasing these electric buses. Likewise, for other category of vehicles, we have rupees 10,000 rupees per kilowatt hour for other vehicle segment. It is also in proportion to the battery capacity of the vehicle. Especially if you see the 3-wheelers and 4-wheeler segment, presently the FAME 2 scheme is applicable only for the commercial vehicles. The reason being the electric vehicle being a new technology, although like globally it is been proven and tested. In India, the early adoption would happen from the shared mobility segment So especially the four-wheelers would be the early adopters where the share mobility has a major share. It's major share here. So here the personal mobility still are not covered under the FAME scheme. I think the early adoption would happen in the share mobility and the commercial segment, and subsequently there will be shift towards the personal mobility segment when the consumer will feel a lot of adequate infrastructure has been set up, has been built in, and subsequently once they realize there is enough charging infrastructure which would help them in alleviating this range anxiety concern, the adoption would shift towards the personal mobility segment also. So likewise, there is a major budget outlay of 1,000 crores under the FAME 2 schemes. These 1,000 crores shall be utilized in 3 years time, and every year there's around 300 crores which has been earmarked for the charging infrastructure. So these incentive for the charging infrastructure will also be issued under the FAME 2 scheme. So there are three category of charging infrastructure which are approved under the by the Department of Heavy Industries. So specifically there's a category A which is like the public charging stations where up to 70% of the cost of the EVSC shall be put under the FAME 2 scheme. And there is category B where for the government departments, for government institutions where the stations are built in the government institutions, there up to 100% subsidy shall be applicable. And third category being the shared mobility or semi-captive charging stations, where up to 50% subsidy on the capital expenditure on the EV charges is applicable. So this is the breakup of this FAME 2 budget outlay. And here I would like to just emphasize that there is an incentive which is being passed on to the OEMs to reduce the upfront purchase cost of the electric vehicles. So at least they can bring that price as compared to the normal ICE vehicles for the end consumer. So this is the guidelines on this is the Ministry of Power guidelines on the charging infrastructure. The guidelines was issued in 14 December 2018, where broadly they defined the category of the charges, slow or moderate charges and fast charges. And subsequently there was a revision which happened in 1st October 2019, and the latest revision happened in 8 June 2020. In the 8 June 2020 guidelines, even the battery charging station, the battery swapping stations are recognized by in the guidelines issued by Ministry of Power. The major takeaway is here, even for the battery charging stations and battery swapping station, the tariff which was applicable for the public charging stations was made applicable for the battery charging or battery swapping stations. So guidelines specifically talk about the major deregulated activity. So presently, the setting up of public charging stations is a deregulated activity. So there is no permissions or approvals required for building up these charging stations. Any individual or organization can take up the development of these public charging stations, and this is a completely delicensed activity. Further, whenever the application is submitted for the public charging stations, there has been a direction that these applications have to be processed by the distribution company on priority basis. In the guidelines, even for location of the public charging stations, so they have mentioned like the public charging stations is required to be deployed in a radius of 3 kilometers by 3 kilometer grid, and in every 25 kilometers on the roads. And thus likewise for highways and interconnecting cities main road, it is defined that fast charging stations have to be deployed in every 100 kilometers on both sides of the road. So additionally, like there could be the charging stations which would be deployed based on the demand and based on the e-mobility requirement. So even the government, they have given priority to the existing retail outlets of the oil marketing companies. It means like if any the fuel stations outlets are there which are managed by the IOCL, BPCL, HPCL, they can also develop the charging infrastructure within their existing facility, subject to the compliance requirement as per the PESO and CA guidelines. Regarding the rollout plan of charging infrastructure, the phase 1 was 19 to 2021, and the phase 2 would be from 21 to 24. And the initial phase 1, they would like to target some of the major cities which are having 4 million plus of population, and also like the major roads connecting these cities. Subsequently, in the phase 2, they would like to cover the state capitals, union territories, and all major roads and highways connecting these cities. So now already like the Bureau of Energy Efficiency has made the central nodal agency. At each state, there are designated state nodal agencies who will be responsible for coordinating the implementation of this charging infrastructure. So these are the charges which are recognized under the guidelines issued by the Ministry of Power. If we say broadly, there are two categories. One is slow or moderate charges, and the second is the fast charges. Under fast charges, we have three categories. One is CCS charger. The minimum rating is 50 kilowatt capacity. The second one is CHAdeMO, which is of minimum is 50 kilowatt capacity, and Type 2 AC of 12 kilowatt capacity. And these are the voltage levels, and they have specified the number of guns also for each charger. And these chargers are typically compatible to four-wheelers. The CCS specifically is an international standard protocol, which are basically followed in the European countries, and CHAdeMO is basically Japanese standard, and Type 2 is a common for both the variants. Likewise in the slow or moderate charger type, we have this Bharat DC, which is an Indian adopted standard. So here in Bharat DC, we have this 15 kilowatt charger, which are basically compatible for the existing electric vehicles. If you see these Tata Tigor EV and the Mahindra e-Verito, so these vehicles are compatible with this Bharat DC 001 chargers. And Bharat AC charger is a 10 kilowatt charger. These chargers will have three sockets of 3.3 kilowatt each, means like where three vehicles could be charged simultaneously from this AC charger. Likewise, if you see this CCS, for example, recently the Hyundai Kona or MG ZS EVs, these vehicles are with CCS protocols. So these vehicles can use the CCS charger for doing a quick charging. And for CHAdeMO, you can consider this Nissan Leaf. So we don't have many vehicles of CHAdeMO standards in India, but Nissan Leaf is a global EV product. They are using CHAdeMO standards. But if you see the globally also, there is a transition towards a single protocol, and most of the EV OEMs are trying to go with the CCS protocol. Yes, in India, like the standard protocol, what we follow is the Bharat DC charger, which is like sub 100 volt standards, and these are typically like the slow or moderate chargers. So if you see the voltage range, also these are 48 volts or 72 volts or higher. And typically, if you say a battery of around say 18 kilowatt capacity, which is the battery in the electric vehicles of Tata and Mahindra, it takes near about 90 minutes for a full charge. If you see this CCS charger, here the voltage ranges from 200 volts to 60 volts. Here, even with a battery of around say 35 kilowatt also, typically it should take near about 30 minutes for a full charge from 0 to 100%. So these are like the Indian adopted standards, the Bharat DC and Bharat AC, and these the above the fast for the global standards which are adopted by India under the MOP guidelines. So these are the like state level initiatives. If you understand like how this national mobility is being adopted nationally at the state level, each state they are coming out with the state EV policies. So each state EV policies they are trying to project their aspirations towards the e-mobility. Some of the states they have declared that by 2030 they would like to have 100% electric vehicles in their state. So these are the aspirational targets which are declared in the state. So many states, the state policy are in the draft phase. Some states have notified the state EV policy also. And broadly, these are the various parameters they are trying to address. One is like they would like to declare what kind of subsidies they would like to give on the electric vehicles, the tax incentives which they would like to offer on the electric vehicles. Some states would like to focus more towards the manufacturing of electric vehicles in the component. Some states are trying to push more towards the infrastructure investment in the states. And also the more specifically, they're also trying to see like what's the tariff for electric for charging of electric vehicles. So these are some of the broad parameters where each state they're trying to put their prominence, and they're trying to see like how those aspirational target of electric mobility could be achieved by 2030. So these are some of the key parameters which we have taken against which try to map the states. So what are the key features which states they have mentioned the state EV policy? In the Kerala also, like there is a lot of incentive being declared by the state EV policy, and even in Kerala they have declared the state tariff for electric vehicle also. So this will basically the states they have mentioned the financial and non-financial incentives which could be offered for the EV charging stations and also the electric vehicles. So this is the tariff framework across India. If we see the tariff structure, so for public charging stations, almost like 18 states and 5 UTs, they have declared their tariff, which is applicable for the public charging station. Here the tariff varies from state to state. So as per the MOP guidelines, it is specified that the actual cost of supply plus 50% should be considered while determining the tariff for the electric vehicle. So states that are following the same guidelines for determining the tariff for the public charging stations. But here some of the state regulatory commissions, they are creating a separate consumer category for the public charging stations. In some states, they are trying to create a subcategory under the non-commercial or non-domestic category, and few states they have gone completely into the commercial category slab. So basically, like the tariff varies from almost like 4.1 rupees per unit to as high as 7.7 rupees per unit in Uttar Pradesh. In tariff also we have two parts tariff structures. One is the fixed or demand charges, and the second is the variable or the energy charges. Few states have only single part tariff structure where only energy charges is applicable, but few states they have declared both the fixed and the demand charges. So these are some of the tariff informations which are declared in different states. Here this varies from like 4.1 rupees till 7.7 rupees. Apart from these fixed demand charges and energy charges, there is also a time of the day tariff which has been specified by the regulatory commission. So where the states like Maharashtra, Telangana, the Uttar Pradesh, Kerala, Delhi, Chennai, they have notified the peak hours and the off-peak hours. They are defined like what's the surcharge applicable at these places. So these are like basically like whenever if you talk about the electric vehicles, these electric vehicles have a different load characteristics. So these loads from electric vehicles would be very mobile, power dense, and variable. So in order to address like the most of the consumption of electric vehicles would happen during the off-peak hours, Discoms prefers to go for a TOD tariff structure. So at least they can give a price signal to the EV users that they can use or charge their electric vehicles during the off-peak hours. So at least they can get that rebate also. In case if they're using during the peak hours, then they have to pay that additional surcharge to be applicable apart along with the normal tariff. This just to give an illustration that how the tariff framework is applicable across India and how the regulatory commission are defining the EV tariff applicable for the public charging stations. So these are different chargers which are as per the MOP guidelines. This just to give an idea like how these chargers looks basically. So these are like the Bharat ACR. Basically, these are the industrial industrial connectors. These are called as Bharat AC001, and these are basically 3-pin industrial socket. And this is a GBT protocol. Normally we call Bharat DC001 connectors. So and basically these are like GB by T. Basically these are adopted from the Chinese protocol. And this is the CCS protocol, combined charging system. Here the voltage ranges from 200 volts to 750 volts or higher. So up to 1000 volts these connectors are available now. And this is the char demo gun. So here the voltage range presently is up to around 500 volt DC, starting from 200 volts to 500 volts DC. And these are the AC type 2 connectors. Here, like we have the 7.2 kilowatt and up to 22 kilowatt, it's available. This is just to give like how this connector looks with respect to the standards. So in CCS, like we have a common socket for AC, and it's a single socket for both the DC fast charging and AC slow charging. So these are typical charging technologies, like we call it as like AC level 1, AC level 2, or in the DC fast chargers. So AC level 1. So these are typically the conventional plugs where the load would be less than 3.7 kilowatt. So even the level 2, we have up to 22 kilowatt capacity. So level 3 AC is basically above 22 kilowatt, and which goes up to 43.5 kilowatt. And basically these are basically used in the buses segment. But up to 20 kilowatt, starting from 3 kilowatt up to 22 kilowatt, these are used for basically the four-wheeler segment. And in the DC fast chargers, so basically we have different protocol like GBT protocol, the CCS combo chargers, CCS2 protocol, char demo, and Tesla, they have their own protocol. They follow their own connectors. So here up to 400 volts, presently we have the DC fast chargers. So this is basically just to explain like how big the market is for the public charging infrastructure. If you see, these are the numbers which are taken from the Vahan portal. So these are the normal vehicles. These are the vehicles which are registered in the Vahan portal, and these informations are taken from the respective RTO data. So which is spread across 1,442 RTOs in India. If you see in India, every year the registered vehicles process close around 20 million. So consistently, I think from 2016 onwards, we're touching near about 20 million registration every year. And if you see the percentage of electric vehicles registered in India, is less than 1%. So presently, like the registration which is there for the electric vehicles is less than 1%, started from 0.2% in year 2016. Now in the last 2019 statistic, it shows it's around 0.75%. In these registered battery electric vehicles, you can see the EV market share also. Here, most of the registration happened in the three-wheeler segment, which is in the blue color, and followed by the two-wheeler segments in orange. And subsequently, I think it is followed by the four-wheelers and other category vehicles. So although the adoption is very less compared to normal IC registration, but we see there is a positive impact, and slowly we see there is an incremental registration of the battery electric vehicles. So apart from this registered vehicle, there would be like other three-wheeler segments which are unregistered and still would be operating on roads. So this is a projection which we tried to work out. If you see here a scenario we try to create by 2030, what is how much public charging infrastructure have to be built across India? So considering the scenario that for electric four-wheelers, considering the present the registration which is happening in India, we assume there will be close around 7 crore four-wheelers by 2030. So even considering the compound annual growth rate of 9.1%. In those 7 crores, if the penetration of EVs rises up to 63%, then we see like there's a requirement of close around 12 lakh public charging stations. So this will have both like the AC and DC fast charging stations, but we foresee a requirement of around 12 lakh public charging stations by 2030. So even if I go with a very conservative low vehicle sale, still there is a market potential for around 8 lakh public charging stations. Here the assumption is that at least the 3 would be the AC charging stations and 1 would be the DC charging station. The ratio is around 3:1. So these are some of the like the low EV sales scenario, and these are the high EV sales scenario. So even the minimum which we expect by 2030 infra requirements around 6.84 lakhs, which may go up to say around 11.72 lakhs by 2030, depending upon the vehicle sales and the EV penetrations, which happens in India over a period of next a decade till 2030. Uh, this is just try to explain like how the COVID as would impact the growth of the growth of vehicle market scenarios in India. So presently we are close to around 20 million plus the vehicle growth of vehicle sales in India every year. Due to this COVID impact, we don't see a major incremental growth in the automobile segment, and this could at least remain for next 2 years, maybe like post 2024. The scenario may again improve where the vehicle sale would increase, which may go up to say around 45 million by 2030. So this is for all category of the vehicle, and these data is as per the statistics from CM. If you see the available market for the public charging stations, uh, so typically, like these are the yearly targets. Out of the available market, we presume that at least a 40% of the requirement would be met by the captive users, basically like the fleet operators and other category consumers who would like build their own captive charging stations for their fleet, and the rest 60% is a total estimate, which which would basically come for the public charging infrastructure. So here we foresee these numbers would go up to almost like, if you add up all these numbers, it will go up to almost like 6 lakh public charging infrastructure by 2030. Considering this is as per the business as usual scenario, where we are shown like almost 10.2 lakh, just if I assuming this business as usual scenario of 10.2 lakh public charging infrastructure requirement, and considering the 60% of 10.2, it's near about 6.12 lakh, and this is the market available for the public charging infrastructure for both AC and DC fast charging stations. So as regard to like ESL target, we feel at least that out of 60%, even if we can capture a 20% market share, still we are talking near about say 1 lakh charging infrastructures by 2030. So even in case of low EV sales target, it's near about 1 lakh. And if these numbers goes with the high EV penetration, we may end up having more than 1.3 lakh charging infrastructure by 2030. So these are based on some assumptions where we try to show that like what is the current market available for charging infrastructure. So even out of 60%, even if the industry or even the entities could target even for 10% or 5%, there is a big market which is available for everyone to build this charging infrastructure at this point in time. I just quickly touch upon our the business model just to give like how this the EV charging infrastructure business model is upcoming strongly in India. I just try to run through some of the business model which VSL is working on. So typically, like most of the land owning agencies are the urban local bodies or the distribution company or development authorities, and there could be some private companies also who owns the land parcels in the city. So we typically work with the land owning agencies, which could be the private or the public corporations, and where we intend to have a kind of service agreement with the landowner where the entire responsibility of like investment involved in building this charging infrastructure, which includes the procurement, installations, operation, maintenance of the charging stations, lies with ESL only. Here, even like what are the utility service connection or the power connections which are required for building these stations are obtained by ESL. So there is no cost involved for the landowner in the charging infrastructure activity. So as a part of land rentals, we partner with some of the charging revenues. Here we charge, where we collect the revenue from the user. Here we charge, we determine the EV tariff, and we charge the service charge to the EV users, and we part with some portion of the revenue with the landowner towards the land rentals. Typically, just try to explain a simple way. Here we'll have a long-term agreement with the landowner agency for 10 years. Entire capex investment and opex investment is done by the company. Landowner will provide a land and the space for the electric vehicles to park and charge. Here the rentals are paid based on the utilization of the charging station. In some cases, there could be a hybrid model where the fixed rentals would also be paid for the land owners, based on the kind of service agreement with the between the companies. Here the entire responsibility, because once we go for a multiple combination of charges, we may need to build up the upstream infrastructure also. In that case, the entire investment involved for building this infrastructure would also be done by the company. Here, since we always believe in the concept of demand aggregation, we try to work on this concept where we try to aggregate the requirement across multiple cities, and we come out with a bulk procurement. So at least we can get that economics of scale, and also we can get the most competitive rates in the brand. We also work with some of the multilateral funding partners like ADB, World Bank, AFT. So at least we have access to this low cost of financing. So the major scenario remains until unless we keep an affordable charges for charging. The cost economics of operating the electric vehicles versus the IC vehicles would be questioned. So if the refueling cost or if the EV charging tariff for the end customers is very high, then the cost economics of operating the electric vehicles versus the CNG or the petrol would be very less, and the consumers may try to defer their decision of owning the electric vehicle. So it's very important that we keep in check that at least we keep an affordable end user tariff. So at least the e-mobility adoption could happen, and the cost of economics would remain beneficial for the electric vehicle users. So this is the role of the different stakeholders involved in deploying the charging stations. So here the PCS operator is public charging station operator, who a entity or agency who build the public charging stations. Here typically they work towards the site assessment activities. They take up this procurement and the investment involved in installation and operation of this charging infrastructure. They're responsible for collecting those fares from the end customers, and also whatever the agreed rentals are there with the municipality or with the landowners, that remains responsibility of the PCS operator. And the local municipality, I'm just referring the local municipality here. It could be the distribution company, or it could be the private land owning entities. It could be anyone who owns the land, who provides land to the PCS operator. Here they would coordinate for the site assessment activities. Maybe they will work with, they will provide necessary documents required for getting the utility service connection from the distribution companies. They provide the required right and access of way for electric vehicle users. The third remains the distribution company or the power utility. They will ensure the required load is being extended to the location, the provide electrical connectivity, and they will process the load sanction, the applications, and they'll do the billing for the power consumed every month. So these are the broad roles of different stakeholders involved in deploying the public charging stations. Okay. So whenever we speak about the public charging stations, we need to keep in mind that before deploying the public charging stations, there is a process called site selections or a location siting process. If I typically take a city like a Trivandrum, or even a city like the Cochin or other city, so the municipality will have the parking locations across the city. So there could be say around 100 parking sites. But how to select the best locations which is most feasible for the public charging stations? In order to determine those best feasible locations, there is a process called location siting, where we try to prepare a kind of checklist which specifically addresses the issues of whether the parking space is available, which segment of vehicles are using those parking spaces, about the ease of parking, whether space are used for the commercial vehicles or not. The foremost important thing remains the load availability. Here, here in the survey checklist, we try to see how much load is readily available at those locations, and this is the broad load requirement which we have specified. So typically the reason being, if the load is available only up to say 20 kilowatt, then perhaps we can decide on the bar at DC or AC charging stations. If the load is available say more than say on 150 kilowatt capacity, then perhaps we can look at building multiple combination of chargers. And also we try to work upon like where is the nearest power source, whether any civil reconstructions or reaccommodations are required, which may require perhaps the road cutting or interlocking kind of work for getting those power connections. And also we try to look some of the parameters like whether these locations are like the prime locations, whether these are accessible to the moving traffic, high visibility areas, whether these are like the more preferred destinations for charging by the electric vehicle users. So we also try to see like whenever we speak to any of the landowning agencies or the municipalities, we try to secure some of the best prime locations which will have the highest footfall, highest visibility. The load is available. There is the least civil work which is required for building this charging infrastructure. There is a reserved parking space or at least an earmark parking space is available for these charging stations. And normally we call a point of public interest. Point POIs normally like which specifically talks about some of the tourist destinations. It could be like shopping malls, the bus depots, the bus stations, metro station, airport, and restaurants. The reason, if you see the share mobility segment also, normally like nowadays like most of the trips are through the mobile app only. It could be like Ola and Uber. So these kind of fleet aggregators and fleet operators, they have a kind of database where they can try to give us a proper information about which are the most preferred points of pickup or points of deboarding by the customers. This pertains to some of the points of public interest like the office or commercial establishments. So getting those the insights from the fleet operators, we can try to finalize these are the most preferred destinations for charging, where at least a fleet operator can get in a chance of doing a quick charging while taking a next trip. So some of the basic parameters would help at least in selecting the location siting process. So subsequent to even if there are 100 locations, once the survey is completed, then we try to prioritize these locations broadly into three categories. And primarily remains the power availability remains the first category, wherever the locations which is readily, wherever the power connection is readily available and where the interconnection required is less than 100 meters, and with high to medium visibility, ease access of parking and high footfall. Typically, we try to categorize into the category 1, priority 1 classification. And the priority 2, we try to see there is a relatively cost involved in getting those power connections. There is a medium visibility, and maybe the additional approvals would be required for getting those interconnections. And the third classification remains where there is an extra work involved in getting those access for getting the power connection at these locations. So broadly, we try to categorize these categorization. So at least we can try to map, maybe in the phase 1, we can target only the priority 1 locations, and subsequently we can try to take up the priority 2 and priority 3 locations. This would help a developer in going with a very clear directions, which are the sites which has to be done in the phase 1, and subsequently which are the phase 2 and phase 3 locations which could be planned. It's also applicable to some of the state organization, the entities involved in deploying the public charging stations. If we don't follow a scientific approach, and if we start building the public charging structure in an unplanned way, perhaps we may end up building a very redundant charging infrastructure, which may become an absolute asset over a period of time. It's very important that we need to match the charging requirement based on the demand of the EV. So we need to be very sure that the infrastructure is built where the requirement is there. And initially we feel some of the major EV adoption would happen in the share mobility. So taking insight from the share mobility and at least aligning their demand locations and building the charging infrastructure would go hand in hand and help in at least upscaling this e-mobility fastly. So this is a typical example which would help you to understand how this site location process is being done. So here you can see the parking type. Typically, we try to categorize the parking type also, whether it's an on-street parking or an off-road parking, whether it's in a free parking under the municipality, paid parking, covered, uncovered parking, how this parking is like, it's easy or moderate or difficult. We try to see like how much space is available for at these charging locations. Typically, you can see here the based on the category of the vehicle. Here we have shown like at least the 50 plus vehicles parking is available for the two-wheelers. Likewise, there's almost like 50 plus vehicle parking space available for four-wheelers. So it shows like at least in considerate parking spaces available at these locations. We also try to do the city mapping in a grid of 3 kilometers by 3 kilometers. This is as per the MOP classification. Then we try to categorize some of the key characteristics of the parking sites with respect to like broadly like the low, medium, and high. So we try to see whether these are frequently occupied with the commercial fleet operators, whether this the footfall is like high, medium, or low, about the load availability at these locations. Is it like less than 50 kilowatt or even like more than 150 kilowatt or up to 150 kilowatt? The power connection, is it like the power connection can be accessed very easily like less than 50 meters, or do we need a major work in getting those interconnections done? And also we try to see like what kind of interlockings are required, whether we need to do a major civil work involving getting those interconnections. It could be like interlocking the road, the concrete structure. And also we talk about the visibility also, how the visibility is if I build a public charging station at those locations, how this visibility would be there. It will be low, medium, and high. And then finally we try to work on some of the possible combinations. So we try to see like what is the like based on the space availability here, and based on the load availability here, and based on the power connections required. We try to analyze which are the charges or which combination of charges could be taken under the phase one. And subsequently, we can add additional charges as and when required and as when the demand increases for the charging stations by the electric vehicles. So also we try to look at some of the like other findings. Typically, we try to see like whether can we have some additional advertisement potential at these locations. We try to see like whether these are like high prominent places where we can try to have some advertisement revenues also, which is like basically non-tariff revenues. Then we try to segregate this as a priority 1, 2, and 3 sites, which I explained in the previous slides. So this is another example. Here we just try to put the actual image of the parking locations. Here you could see like these are the number of vehicles which could be parked at these parking locations. Here you could see these are the infrastructure or the electrical transformer which is available at these locations. It shows at least there is a source from which the power tapping could be taken. Here we try to see like about the footfall at these locations. It shows the high footfall area. It shows like whether these parking spots are the commercial fleet. It looks like it's more like a personal mobility location. Then we try to define like what combination could be installed here. So this just give an example like how this location siting is done by the company. So typically they do a physical inspection of the locations, then they try to carry out an assessment with respect to like multiple parameters which are explained here. So once we complete the site selection process, subsequently we commence our development activities. So these are the site selection table which was captured during the survey, and subsequently try to build this a kind of implementation or engineering diagram to ascertain like which are the locations where these stations could be deployed. Here you could see like these are the existing chargers which are installed. These are like Bharat DC charger of 15 kilowatt capacity. These are the old EV chargers which are already exist in the locations. Here you can see these are the like additional chargers which are basically like high capacity, maybe 140 kilowatt capacity chargers, which would be installed at these locations. So it's like we're trying to plan to put up like two at two locations. So it's not necessary that we should put up these charging stations adjacent to each other. So based on the parking space available, we can try to plan the orientation of the charging stations also. And here you can see this is the nearest substation where the power source could be taken. And typically this is like the points of public, and this is a bus stop which is next to the parking station. There is a road, main road, and also these are the existing entry and exit point. And these are other the public convenience which are being mapped just to give a visualization that how feasible the location is. So this is basically about the interlocking or the civil construction work, because whenever we need to lay any power cabling work at these locations, probably we may do a lot of digging or reconstruction activities. So we can ascertain what's the cost involved for getting those interconnections at these places. So this is another example of the location. So here we try to keep an orientation which is like on a linear. So we try to place all the stations in a adjacent to each other. So here also like we have the proper mapping done with respect to the road, with respect to the location, and also we try to work out the dimension of the parking station. This only just to give a kind of insight towards that what are the deployment or the development activities or the civil construction activities which are required for building these charging stations. So these are basically like which will given clear mapped information also with respect to that long of the locations and all those like other the visibility, availability, and other informations. Here you can see like already like we know like these are the potential locations where we can put up multiple combinations. We try to see like the when the survey was done, and subsequently this in the remarks we try to capture other informations which are required for developing the charging stations. So this is the implementation activities. So here, as a charge point operator or any individual or any company would like to build a station. So initially, they could do a joint survey along with the landowning agency, which could be like the urban local bodies or the distribution company or the private or the public entity. They'll do a survey with along with the distribution company to ascertain these locations are feasible. This will be normally we call a preliminary survey just to ascertain the location feasibility. And subsequently, like once the locations are like earmarked, typically there's an NOC would be required, basically land NOC would be required. So based on the land NOC, the CP or the charge point operator would submit an application with the distribution company for the required load. And subsequently there is a process which is involved in getting the commercial and technical commercial feasibility. This technical commercial feasibility is done by the distribution company, so where they will ascertain like which is the nearest power source and what is the cost involved for getting those interconnection at these locations. Once there is a conformity on the technical and commercial feasibility, subsequently the charge point operator will commence the work of putting up the charger and the meter box installations. Once this part is done, once the load is installed at the site, the distribution company will inspect the locations, then confirm the load is available at the sanctioned location, and subsequently all those posts of the load sanctioning and other required payments to be done for getting those connections are ensured. And subsequently these will go for an testing and commissioning. And in few cases this commissioning is also verified by the independent agencies, the majorly like the distribution companies. So also the central electricity authorities has issued a safety guidelines. So whenever these high capacity or DC fast charging stations are commissioned, so the distribution company ensures that these are commissioned, these are meeting all the safety requirements. So this is about the financial model for the charging infrastructure. So just I'm broadly giving in a kind of indicative list of components which are involved in determining the end user tariff. So if you see, like, these are the AC001 is 10 kilowatt Bharat AC charger. The DC is Bharat DC 15 kilowatt capacity charger. This 142 kilowatt is a combo charger which will have 3 guns of the CCS 2 protocol, CHAdeMO protocol, and Type 2 AC standards. If you see the end user tariff here, so almost like in case of AC charger, 80% cost will be the LCD cost. It's the cost of power, which is an input cost to the charge point operator. Basically, there is a notified EV tariff at the state. So DISCOM, whenever we apply for connections, we normally take the connection under the EV tariff category. If you see in the cost of power also, it is as per the approved state electricity regulatory commission, and this additional surcharges and duties which are levied by the states. And it's like end tariff, which is determined by the distribution company, which is called cost of power. If you see here, almost like in the end EV user tariff, which is being paid by the consumer, in case of like each category of station, starting from 40% up till 80%, the tariff is one thing which constitutes a major cost component for determining the end user tariff. And rest, like the 40% and the 20%, is basically the capital expenditure and the operational expenditure. If you see the capital expenditure, especially for higher capacity, since the investment involved is very high, so the capital expenditure constitutes almost like 40%. Likewise, if you see for lower capacity, it's 10% and 20%. So the capital expenditure involves the EVSC, that is the EV charging supply equipment unit, the civil investment involved at the parking locations for installation of these chargers, the power connection cost, the cost involved for the other software and the mobile applications, and in some cases, like if the load is not available under the LT connection or the low tension connection, perhaps we may need to go for an HT connection where the cost of transformer will also be applicable. So typically, wherever we try to build these high capacity stations, where the cost of transformer will also be involved. And the operational expenditure typically talks about the land rentals, the cost towards the payment gateway charges, the insurance components, the cost of like operating these charging stations, the maintenance expenditures. So broadly, I try to put as a cost of power, cost of capital expenditure, and operational expenditure, just to give a clear picture like how the end user tariff will have an implication depending upon the cost of power. So typically, like if the states are keeping a very low cost EV tariff for a public charging station, it would help at least in keeping the end user tariff to a very at an affordable category. If the cost of power itself is very high or close to commercial tariff category, this will have an amplification effect where the end user consumer tariff would be very high. So it's preferred like the regulatory commission should at least go for a single part tariff structure where at least we can keep an affordable tariff for the end customers. So this is our like the implementation outcomes so far. So if you see here, like from our ESL charging business, we have deployed close to around 94 plus charging stations. So majorly like almost like 65 are the Bharat DC chargers, which are shown here of 15 kilowatt capacity. And some are like AC chargers of Bharat AC chargers of 10 kilowatt capacity. And now like the upcomings, we're trying to build this high capacity, this 140 kilowatt capacity chargers, which are compatible for this long range EVs like MG ZS EVs or Hyundai Kona. So if you see our infrastructure business segment from those 94 plus charging stations, which are majorly in cities of Delhi, Noida, Chennai, Nagpur, and Calcutta. So our consumption has reached almost like 1.4 lakh. So we commenced our operation in May 2019, and till June these are the numbers. And typically, I think we are happy to say I think we support more than 8 lakh kilometers for 8 lakh kilometers. So assuming we typically assume around 6 kilometers per kilowatt hour. So also like all our charging stations are an unmanned station. So there is no manpower who would assist while doing the charging. So all our charging stations are accessed through an mobile application. This is the snapshot of the mobile application where consumer can try to see like which are the nearest charging points. They can try to check whether these stations are available. They can do the advanced booking. They can navigate to the nearest charging stations. They can initiate the charging, and they can make the payment through mobile application, and then they can discharge the facility. So these typically, so globally also we have seen the public charging stations are unmanned stations where automation is there, where all the interface is through a mobile app only. So in India also we feel the same trend would continue, and people prefer now. The people are more less like prefer to go with the customer interface mobile application for accessing these facilities. So let me at least spend a few minutes here. So basically, this is an utilization trend for charging stations which are installed in Delhi. So these are like numbers like we commenced our initial operation in May 2019, and these are the numbers up till June 2020. And this is the utilization trend, utilization percentage from the charging stations. If you see here, typically like initially our charging stations utilization was less than around say 4% to around 5%. So gradually this has increased to almost like 15 and 15% and above. If you see the COVID impact, if somebody wants to see like what's the COVID impact on the charging station, this indicates that there is a great impact on the sheer mobility. Almost like you see in the month of like May and the month of April and May, you can see like a rotation is less than say around 0.2%, less than 1%, I would say. And now again like June, there's a slight increment in the utilization again, like we're trying to reach that normalcy. So you can see like almost the sheer mobility was completely non-operational, or not accessing our charging stations. And these are some of these numbers are basically like charging sessions in a month. So initially like we were touching close to 2,500 charging sessions in a month, and gradually these sessions has increased. The highest being around 24,000 charging sessions in a month, which basically indicates that now the shared mobility partners or the personal mobility electric vehicle users, they're more comfortable doing a short quick charging facility. So at least they can do more number of trips in a day. So this has been analyzed with the range anxiety concern also. And if you see like initially when we commenced our operations in May 19, where we have put up very few number of public charging stations, we were realizing that the consumers or the electric vehicle users are approaching the public charging stations even when their batteries around 50% or above. So this was seen like up to see like November or so, October time. And once you like ramp up or the public charging infrastructure from October onwards, we realize slowly the EV users are more comfortable doing the short quick charging, and they're more comfortable even when the battery is around 30% or 35% or 40%. They were comfortable reaching the public charging station, and they would prefer to go for up to say 80%, and they would discharge the facility. So the initial tendency of going for a long charging, say even with 50% or 10%, the drivers would still insist for around almost like 90 or 95%, and then only they used to discharge the facility. But gradually this tendency has reduced. The main reason being like once we build more number of charging stations or adequate charging stations, the range anxiety concern has been addressed to a large extent now. Just an additional analytics which was done in Delhi. So you can see like in irrespective of the weekdays or weekends. So I think we were touching here about the same utilization trend. But here one of the interesting thing is if you see the sessions in a day, like morning, afternoon, evening, and night. You can see here like even the highest being the afternoon session. But if you see the night here also we're getting almost like 8.6%. Typically night times we calculate from 9 p.m. till 5 a.m. in the morning. So the major of the like utilization happens from the sheer mobility. When we spoke to many of the fleet operators and aggregators, they said like during night they have more easy access for these parking locations as compared to like the afternoon, the evening sessions, where the rush is like very nominal and they can get the access the facility very easily because of the low traffic, and even there is no interventions in the accessing these public parking locations and charging stations, and comfortably they can do a charging and they can use the facility. So this is one feedback which was obtained from the fleet operators. So just an update about the FAME India scheme. Like we also, like ESL also has obtained the sanction for EV chargers. So these are the cities where we will be deploying these public charging stations. We have obtained around sanction for 1,021 chargers as of now. So still few more approvals are under consideration by Department of Heavy Industries. So this we intend to deploy around 1,000 plus charging stations by March 2021. So typically I spoke about like what is the like how the infra and how the policy has to be enabled to encourage the e-mobility adoption in India. If you see the real example here, although the public charging stations are there, and still the public would come and park the normal IC cars. The reason being there is a lack of information about the public charging stations. So although they may not be knowing these are the EV charging stations, the lack of information, I think we need to create a lot of awareness to the customers about this public charging station. And even if you can start like propagating that these are the public charging stations where these vehicles are not to be parked, that would at least like help some of the EV users to conveniently access the facility and do the charging. These are some of the real problems, and this is the practical solutions which we have developed in Delhi. So these are like the standalone the public charging stations which are predominantly installed in the parking locations of the municipalities. Here you see the difference here. Like here we are trying to develop an EV charging plaza, which is more like a practical solution, where this entire space is reserved only for the electric vehicles, where only electric vehicles can come and park at this location, and they can use our charging station. This way, we try to see like the issues related to not getting the proper space for parking the EVs and using the facility get addressed. But nonetheless, I think the city administration and the authorities should look at these specific issues where they can try to address these concerns through a kind of enforcement and policy decisions. So the users can get the benefit of accessing these locations conveniently, and they can use the facility with ease. So this is my last slide of the presentation. Just try to touch upon like what we have understood from the experience. So I think the land availability remains the main concern while deploying the public charging stations. Initially, I think the partnership model would be more beneficial for both the landowning agency and the CPO operators, because I think if you see the production of electric mobility adoption by 2030, the rentals, I think the revenue sharing would earn them more revenue as compared to the fixed land rentals, which they can get from the normal parking fees. The location assessment, I think any company or any entity or organization who want to getting into the field of the public charging infrastructure space should follow a scientific approach for identifying the right locations and deploying the right combination of chargers. So at least the chargers which are deployed are used for use up to their intended life, and there is no redundant infrastructure which are built across the city. So this has to be taken care at the city planning level, and also by the CPOs who are involved in deploying these charging stations. So utility infrastructure, I think this remains the major concern. If you see the state regulatory commission, the distribution company, that they follow their own defined supply code. Some of the states, I think they have more favorable regulations in place. In states like Delhi, up to 200 kilowatt, they can still allow us a LT connection for the public charging station. The only difference it would make is like when we get an LT connection, the cost involved for the upstream infrastructure is minimal. Once it goes for an HT connection, then the upstream infrastructure required for the charging infrastructure, which includes the transformers and all other peripherals, would add to the investment in deploying the charging station. So once we have the charging stations built with a in a competitive way, I think we can keep a very affordable tariff for the end customers. So the purpose of like promoting the electric mobility and showing the cost of economics of operating the electric vehicles versus the IC vehicles uh, uh, would be a big success. So EV tariff, as I think, as we realize, I think the single part tariff is recommended for the public charging or EV charging tariff. So I think there has to be a kind of comparative tariff which could be decided for the public charging station across all the country. The utilization, I think, this e-mobility, I think, would be successful when we work as a partnership with the EV ecosystem players. I think we need to do a lot of monitoring and analytics, not only deploying the charging stations. I think a lot of health monitoring, a lot of analytics, which has to be like done every month, so at least we can get those insights from those public charging stations about the improvements which are required for bettering the utilization to realize the revenue from these stations. The consumer experience, I think here I think the campaign, maybe like specifically the Go Electric campaign, perhaps can bring a major difference here. I think the city administration and even the state node agencies and the central node agencies can bring out a large scale awareness campaign where at least the consumers or the users can be educated not to park vehicles in front of the public charging station. Maybe they can start like reserving the space for the electric vehicles. Maybe some information about the electric chargers could be like propagated. So some of the, I think the consumer experience will make a lot of difference. I think once they start seeing like there is a preference given for electric vehicle users, I think slowly and gradually, I think the consumers would prefer to shift towards electric vehicles. So presently also like the people, because of this COVID restrictions and COVID scenario, the people are realizing the importance of clean air, clean transport, and the quality living. So I think this makes an electric mobility and electric vehicle, I think perhaps could be a right fit where with getting the consumer experience and consumers eager to participate in the electric vehicle adoption should be encouraged. And I think there's a lot of awareness, I think, which has to go through for enabling this thing. And finally, I think the operational cost, I think, because the public charging stations, mainly we look at some of the tariff revenues only. Still at the nascent stage, as India is in a very early stage of electric mobility and consumer density of electric vehicles on road, we don't see a major revenue from the charging services. So alternately, I think there is an option where we can look at some of the non-tariff revenues through asset monetization, where we can try to do some of the advertisement on the charging station, which could help in at least like bettering the financials, bettering the revenues from the public charging stations. So let me at least stop here. Maybe like Anish can come in. So if any questions are there, I'm happy to answer.
Yes. Thank you, Mohan sir. It was an amazing session. So it explained most of the planning initiatives for charging infrastructure in a state. So we are also had to hear from you because most of the things are getting done in the North India. So here we have a few charging stations in Trivandrum. We have in Secretariat, which is a public administration setup, and then which is fully owned by government. Then we have some in the Info Park and Techno Park, so which are the IT parks. So we are we are planning to have more charging stations based on the number of vehicles being procured. And I think now few people are owning these EVs. Now a lot of manufacturers have come. I think Tata, Hyundai, and this MG has also launched an electric vehicle. So these electric vehicles have been increasing. So once the number of vehicles is increasing, the state has to provide infrastructure favorable for optimized charging requirements. So we have some couple of questions. So, sir, shall I read out this?
It's in a public chat, right? Public chat
Yes,
on LinkedIn.
I will read out, sir.
So maybe I think just to maybe address, like just to add on to like what we're doing in Kerala,
Yes.
ESL, like we have partnered with ANAT, which is an entity, is a state government entity, ANAT. So we are also planning to deploy electric cars through ANAT, and also we're planning to build up this public charging infrastructure. We're planning around the 5 stations, which will have a combination of both Bharat DC and high capacity chargers. I think which would come up very soon, maybe by uh, September, October. I think we'll be planning to deploy these charging stations in the state of Kerala with ANAT.
Yes, yes. Once again, I will explain. ANART is the nodal agency for MNRE in Kerala, and EMC is the nodal agency for Bureau of Energy Efficiency in Kerala. A lot of people confuse between
Yeah.
EMC and ANART. So once again, I am clarifying. We are working in the energy efficiency and energy conservation, and ANART is working in the renewable energy integration. So EV is majorly with this, both are there, energy efficiency and our renewable energy are there. So we are also jointly working. So ANART is, as sir said, ANART is designated as a nodal agency for propelling this EV this charging in Kerala. And KCB is also having a good support. KCB is the largest utility company in Kerala, which is one of the largest utility in the country itself. So we are having 100% electrification in our state. So without their support, these plants will not succeed. So as sir said, a lot of power allocation has to be done because this is electrically driven. So the electrical load also has to be planned. So we have to optimize our substations and transmission setup. So shall I read the questions, sir?
Yeah, you can show me like otherwise. Yeah, you
Yes,
can read. No issues.
I will read, sir. Okay. So Josephine Aravind George has asked, EV adoption will reduce the oil import. However, what about the fuel required for the additional generation for the charging of the battery? Shall I repeat?
Yeah, no, basically in the electric vehicles right now, the most of the electric vehicles manufactured by OEMs comes with the lithium-ion batteries only, and with different battery chemistries. Right now, the lithium-ion battery also will have different battery chemistries. It would be like nickel, manganese, cobalt, lithium iron phosphate. So different chemistries are there in the lithium. But see, like majorly we need to understand, like right now there is an almost like the dependency on the fossil fuel is very high, and considering the renewable targets, like presently we're targeting close to 175 gigawatt of the RE energy. Once that RE energy comes in place, we'll be having surplus power in the daytime, which perhaps can make a very good case for electric vehicles, where the vehicles could be charged using the solar energy, and perhaps I think our mobility could become a clean mobility in the coming years. So with that intention, I think the e-mobility is a big opportunity for India, where renewable energy generation is being promoted very aggressively.
Okay, thank you, sir. There is another question from same person. This, what is the quality and reliability of the power supply to the charging station? Is it critical? Yes, I think it is about the quality of, I think about the harmonics and all. So you can take it up, sir.
So the quality supply has to be ensured by the distribution company. But even if you see that the EV chargers, which will meet all the safety requirements and even the THD limits also. The only thing is like these chargers are more susceptible to the voltage variations, because we have put up stations in many cities. If I typically talk about some of the cities like where the infra part is not really good, we have realized that even due to like voltage variations, the voltages were exceeding more than 255 volts, the chargers were getting tripped. So these chargers will have all the safety requirements. I think the power quality, I think still is one of the area I think which needs a lot of improvement. And these chargers are more susceptible for any voltage variations, and perhaps these chargers will go to a safety mode whenever such instance happens during the operation.
Thank you, sir. There is one question from Ashima Sia. What is the minimum time required to charge a four-wheeler in a priority one location?
Okay. So like I said, like it depends upon the type of vehicle you're having. If I say Tata Tigor EV, which is having around 18 kilowatt battery, if I'm using 15 kilowatt of Bharat DC charger, it typically takes about 90 minutes. Likewise, if I'm using like long range EVs like Hyundai Kona or MG Motors, where the battery capacity is around 40 kilowatt capacity, and these chargers are more this basically depends upon the CCS protocol. Here in the CCS protocols, we're using higher capacity fast DC chargers of around 50 kilowatt, where the charging time would be less than 30 minutes. It depends upon the charger type and the vehicle which they are compatible to. It will determine like how much time it will take. Typically, to simplify the answer, typically it takes about say 90 minutes for sub 100 volt chargers, and maybe for higher capacity long it takes about around 35 minutes to 40 minutes.
Okay, thank you, sir. Before proceeding to the next question, I have one small announcement. We have shared a link in the chat box for providing the feedback regarding the program, including all the aspects, including the software, this speaker, and the organizing. So kindly, those who have not filled the feedback, kindly do that. I have again shared the link. So I can see only 8 or 9 people have shared the feedback. So please do that. Then I will proceed with the next question. So same person has asked, who are the key market players in the installation of chargers pan India?
Who are the key? See, like India, like it's like an upcoming market now. Many EV manufacturers are there. To name a few, the BHEL is there, Exicom, Delta, Okaya, Panasonic. Uh, so there are many companies which are like actively like they're manufacturing these EV chargers in India.
Okay, I think I missed out some previous questions. I will come to that. This Anit Krishnan has asked, do we have a standard charging protocol in place in our country? Okay, I think you have discussed this in slides.
Yeah. So presently, like for this Bharat DC and Bharat DC standards, it's an adapted version from the GBT protocol, but this is in Bharat standards. So Bharat DC 001 is in Bharat standard only, but for higher capacity, we are relying on the international protocols like CCS, CHAdeMO Type 2 standards.
Thank you, sir. One question from Dr. Radha Krishnan. Okay, so how do we deal with the additional burden due to increased carbon footprint on account of the enhanced use of plastics in the batteries? And one more continuation is asked, the use of more plastics also increase the petroleum import. Any cost benefit analysis has been carried out prior to decision on the widespread promotion of EV in the country. It is a controversial question, but still there are some points regarding the plastic pollution to summarize.
So I think presently, I think I'm not very sure, but I think presently there is a disposal guidance being developed for the EV batteries also. But if you see the lithium-ion batteries, so even like when the life goes below 70%, then they say like it's not appropriate for the electric vehicle use. So in those cases, the secondary use of these EV batteries should be used for a storage application, where these can be used for in RE storage applications. But depends upon the quality of the battery technology. But as far as the disposal, I think the disposal mechanism is being declared by the government on how this disposal has to happen on the used batteries.
Thank you, sir. One question from Archana. What are the challenges faced in planning the charging infrastructure when integrated to the power grid?
Okay. So typically, I think the one is getting those load requirement and load sanction from the distribution company. That remains a major challenge. Even like as I said, there could be locations where it is meeting all the requirement. Maybe like it would be the best location in a city. Maybe like with highest footfall, highest visibility. Maybe like highest commercial arrangement. but there could be there could be an issue like we're getting those accessibility for the interconnection. So we have faced similar thing in Delhi also, where we plan to put up around 15 kilowatt DC charger at a location which is one of the prime location of Delhi. But unfortunately, like when we spoke to distribution company, we realized the cost involved for getting those connections require road cutting, where the road cutting cost itself is around 5 lakh rupees. So it depends, then it becomes like completely unviable proposition. Even the location is more favorable to build the stations, but considering the cost involved in building this station, it may not be a right decision to build the stations at those locations. We need to make a kind of assessment considering the load availability and kind of interconnections work involved while deploying these stations.
I will take only some 5 more minutes, considering your valuable time. So there are some 2-3 questions. So I will come to that. Which four-wheeler, Vinay has asked, which four-wheeler can be charged using Bharat AC?
It is like Tata Tigor EV and I think the Mahindra e-Verito. They're using the Bharat DC charger standards only.
Then I will, CM Varghese sir has asked, what is the charging rate present possible for DC fast charging for end consumers on DISCOM, distribution companies, rate at rupees 5 plus 15% extra service charge? Is it possible?
See, I think the MOP guidelines was very clear. So while determining the EV tariff by the regulatory commission, they said like the discount should consider the actual cost of supply plus 15%. That is the EV tariff which the distribution company would determine. But for the end user tariff, presently it's a diesel licensed activity, and any charge point operator can build the stations and they can determine the end user tariff. But as far as like ESL is concerned, we are operating 94 plus charging stations. In Delhi, our tariff is around 9.5 rupees for Bharat DC chargers, where the established EV tariff is around 4.5 rupees, including less the additional duty, which comes to around 5.5 rupees. So our tariff to the end customer is around 9.5 rupees.
Okay, so thank you. Then one more question. It is again regarding the harmonics. More number of charging stations means high level of line harmonics. This will disturb the grid. Is there any specific guideline introduced? I will give some light to this because if you rely on any of the energy efficient technologies, these technologies are all highly dependent on power converters. So whenever there is a power conversion using a power electronic device, the harmonics will be there. So what is there is that as the present standard there is IEEE 519 guidelines. Am I right, sir? Is there as per that each of these devices which should have inbuilt harmonic filters, so that this current harmonic and the voltage harmonic shall be within the limits specified in the IEEE 519. You can refer that. I think most of the standard equipments are manufactured with this norms. Let it be these chargers, maybe from Siemens, ABB. Lot of companies are there. So you can also add, sir.
Yeah, I think I completely, because now even the CEA, they have specified the safety requirements, and even the distribution company, they will ensure like these safety requirements, and even the harmonics, those requirements are met. But as far as the EV chargers are concerned, these are like the globally approved standards we are trying to follow, where we try to see like at least we are following the specifications which are globally approved. So the quality wise, I think there is no compromise. I think we are putting up the best stations possible as per the available global best standards.
There is one question regarding these fast chargers. Can you mention about the high power chargers, that is CCS2, and the time it will take for completing a cycle?
The CCS, the minimum rating specified by MOP is around 50 kilowatt capacity. So typically it should take near about 35 minutes to 40 minutes for a complete charge, that is 0 to 100%. But one thing you need to realize, whenever we talk about or speak about the public charging station, specifically the vehicles will not come at a zero discharge battery, and typically these vehicles will come with certain battery percent, let's say around 35 or 40%. And typically when we have these high capacity DC fast chargers, and even with a 10 minutes interval charging session, still they can at least boost up the battery by almost like 40%, which is good enough for reaching say around say 60 or 70 kilometers range. So the main intention for this public DC fast charging station is that at least the users can come and have a quick charging, say around 15 minutes or 10 minutes, and they can get adequate range to reach the destination. Likewise, in globally also, if you see like the 70% charging happens at home only, and maybe like 30% would rely on the public charging. Because if you see the cost comparison of at the home and the public charging, there's a tariff difference. So the people may prefer to do overnight charging for their cars, and maybe try to do a very quick charging whenever they need to do a long trips.
Thank you. There is one question from one EV manufacturer. His name is Sharath. What should be a land owner do if he like to have a charging station? Good question.
So they have a land and they want to develop a charging station. Is the question right?
Yes, sir. It is from a EV manufacturer who is a dealer, I think. What should a land owner do in case he like to have a charging station of his own?
Okay, so presently, see, as I said, it's a delicensed activity, and there is no special permission or approval required for developing the charging station. The only thing is they have to apply for the utility service connection with the distribution company, and they can have a tie-up with the manufacturers, and they can build the charging station. There is no permissions or approval as such required, since it is a delicensed activity.
I think if there is some power allocation required, you have to get it from the electricity board, and the electrical engineer has to get the energization sanction. This is the statute in Kerala. Then one question from Vinay, I think it's from Anat. Is there any trial test being done for directly utilizing the solar power for EV charging? With this much of current levels, will it be possible, or only the offset of the consumption by solar will be possible? Okay, I think he's asking about balance between solar power and EV. So, what are the trials?
I think few. I think the solar rooftop. I think some pilot have been done where the solar panels have been installed on the building rooftop, and the generation is being utilized for the public for the charging sessions. But here, if we need to realize, like presently the utilization from these charging stations are very low, and you can't expect a very major utilization which would happen in the next like 1 year or so. So even if somebody is putting up a standalone solar unit, they need to go with a battery storage facility if they want to dedicatedly use for the charging session. Otherwise, if there is already a net metering and grid connected facilities are there, so I think the generation can be fed to the grid, and whenever the charging stations are there, they can try to use the solar generated power.
Thank you, sir. I will take one or two questions last. So remaining, we will answer the questions we will send you an email. As I mentioned in the beginning, I will send these questions to the speaker and get the answers, and I will send this the recorded session of the video in the YouTube link, as well as the question answer as email to all the registered participants. Okay, there are two questions which are, I think, similar. Anil Ambat has asked regarding the petrol pump. So PSU costs PSUs like BPCL, HPCL have any plans to install chargers at their petrol stations across the country? And the continuation to that, are they going for allowing private entrepreneurship to install chargers at their petrol pumps? Okay, this is a good question. I also wanted to ask why these these fuel suppliers, we have Indian Oil, BPCL, HPCL, Reliance. So are they switching to this? I think in one large petrol filling station, there are 4 outlets. Are they willing to convert at least one to EV charging?
See, we're also working with both the HPCL and BPCL. Here, see, existing they have a business of fuel station. So when they're also like they have plans for building up these EV charging stations only. But typically, if you see the fuel station layout, whenever they go for any change in the layout, they need to go for PESO approval. Even for installing these public EV chargers, they need to go within PESO approval. That is the Petroleum Exposure and Safety Organization. There they need to obtain approval before deploying the EV chargers. I think gradually, whenever they see there is an viability and business case, I think that they would be very aggressive in putting up the stations. And we're already working with HPCL and BPCL, and we're trying to put up few EV chargers in their petrol outtention cities of Mumbai and Calcutta.
Thank you. So one last question from my end. When we are planning to put an electric charging station in the planning stage, we are doing a lot of assessments and power allocation and all. So after once the work is complete, what are the statutory approvals we have to get apart from the electricity board power allocation and the electrical inspectorate who will give the sanction, operating sanction to energize the unit? Because it's electrical, so it will come under the vicinity of electrical inspectorate. In Kerala, it is like that. In some states, I think the electricity board and the inspectorate come under one department. So, is there any other statutory approval required?
So I think there is no approval as such required. I think once they get the compliance from the distribution company after commissioning the charge, I think there is no separate permission required as such.
Thank you, sir. With this, I will stop the Q&A session because it's been a long time. He has been patiently asking, patiently answering for these all questions these participants has been asked, because this is a very trending area nowadays in Kerala. Lot of, I think this session, a lot of academic people, then people from industries, then students, a good flare of participants are there. So because this is very trending area, a lot of people are doing projects also in this area. So charging also, it is again it is a multidisciplinary area. It comes in this electrical, power electronics, then power systems, lot of streams, renewable energy. So I think that's why we got this question. So you patiently answered all these questions. So thank you for your valuable time. The session was also amazing. So I think that's from my end. So do you like to share anything, sir?
Yeah, anyway, thank you everyone. Thank you for patience listening. So I'd like to at least thank AMC, the Bureau of Energy Efficiency, at least for inviting us for this webinar. And it's a great learning experience also for us, because whatever we have done on field in deploying this charging station, I think we need to at least start propagating or sharing our experience, so at least we can bring on board many such players who can work in the e-mobility segment. I think we're happy to be a part with EMC for any such webinar in future. Thank you, everyone.
Yes, thank you, sir. The participants, if you have any detailed information, you can get the information from the ESL website, as well as SANEP. Also, they are doing much on the EV charging. So thank you all for the participation. Have a nice evening.
Thank you.